The throne room doors slammed shut with a resounding echo, leaving a palpable silence in their wake. Kale and Elara stood frozen, the weight of Seraphina's words pressing down on them like a suffocating shroud. The dragon, sensing their distress, nudged Elara's hand with its snout, its eyes filled with an unspoken concern. Elara turned to Kale, her heart pounding in her chest. "What does this mean for us?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Kale cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs gently tracing the curve of her cheekbones. "It means we fight," he said, his voice low and determined. "We fight for our love, for our future, for our empire." He pulled her into a fierce embrace, their bodies molding together as if seeking solace in each other's warmth. The scent of sandalwood and spice, his signature scent, enveloped her, grounding her in the moment. "We will not let this prophecy define us," Kale continued, his voice a rumble against her ear. "We will write our own story together." Elara nodded, drawing strength from his unwavering resolve. She pushed away from him, her eyes ablaze with newfound determination. "Then let us begin," she said, her voice ringing with a warrior's spirit. They turned towards the dragon, their silent guardian. "We need your help," Kale said, his voice commanding yet filled with respect. The dragon lowered its head, its eyes gleaming with a fierce loyalty. It spread its wings, casting a shadow that danced across the walls of the chamber. "Where shall we go first?" Elara asked, her hand resting on the dragon's scaled flank. Kale glanced at the flickering flames in the hearth, a thoughtful expression on his face. "The Whispering Woods," he said. "They say the trees hold secrets older than the Empire itself." Elara nodded, a thrill of anticipation coursing through her veins. "Then let us seek those secrets," she said, her voice filled with a warrior's spirit. Together, they mounted the dragon, their hands intertwined. As the great beast took flight, soaring into the darkening sky, Elara looked back at the palace, a symbol of power and tradition. But as they ventured into the unknown, she knew that their true power lay not in titles or thrones, but in the unyielding bond of their love. The prophecy may have cast a shadow over their future, but as they journeyed towards the Whispering Woods, Elara felt a spark of defiance ignite within her. They would not be pawns in a game of fate. They would be the authors of their own destiny. Meanwhile, in the palace, Seraphina stalked through the dimly lit corridors of the palace, her heels clicking against the marble floor like the ticking of a time bomb. Her blood sang not with venomous triumph, but with the insatiable hunger for power, a symphony of ambition and dominance. "Fools," she thought, her lips curling into a cruel smirk. They were mere pawns in her grand game, their destinies woven into the intricate tapestry of her own design. She would use them, manipulate them, bend them to her will. She ran a hand along the cold stone wall, her fingers tracing the intricate carvings with a predatory touch. It was not the heat of Kale's gaze that ignited her, but the thrill of the impending conquest. He was a tool, a means to an end, a stepping stone on her path to absolute power. Her thoughts drifted to Lara, the wildling queen. A flicker of contempt, not jealousy, ignited within her. Elara was a threat, a rival who dared to challenge her supremacy. Seraphina would crush her, eliminate any obstacle that stood in her way. Seraphina paused before a towering mirror, its gilded frame reflecting her distorted image. She ran a hand along the smooth surface, her fingers leaving a trail of condensation in their wake. "Power," she whispered, her voice a seductive hiss. "It will be mine. All of it." She leaned closer to the mirror, her breath fogging the glass. Her reflection stared back at her, a dark empress with raven hair and eyes that promised not pleasure, but unyielding dominance. Seraphina's footsteps echoed through the empty corridors as she made her way to her chambers. Pushing open the heavy wooden door, she was met with the sight of a young woman lying on her bed, her auburn hair cascading over the silken sheets. The woman stirred, her eyes fluttering open as she met Seraphina's gaze. A surge of primal energy coursed through Seraphina, her anger transmuting into a potent, erotic force. The woman on the bed was not a lover, but a vessel, a conduit for her raw power. Seraphina approached the bed, her movements slow and deliberate, her eyes locked onto the woman's trembling form. "You are mine," Seraphina whispered, her voice a dark caress. She reached out, her fingers tracing the delicate curve of the woman's neck, feeling the rapid pulse beneath her skin. The woman gasped, her eyes widening in a mixture of fear and anticipation. Seraphina leaned in, her lips brushing against the woman's ear as she murmured, "And I will consume you." The auburn-haired woman, Lysandra, was no stranger to Seraphina's appetites. There was a shared understanding between them, a dance of dominance and submission, fueled not by love or affection, but by the intoxicating energy that surged between them. Seraphina trailed a finger down Lysandra's exposed collarbone, her touch sending shivers through the woman's body. "Look at me," she commanded, her voice a silken thread woven with steel. Lysandra obeyed, her eyes meeting Seraphina's with a mixture of apprehension and desire. Seraphina leaned closer, her lips ghosting over Lysandra's as she whispered, "You belong to me. Every inch of you." She inhaled the scent of Lysandra's arousal, her own desire coiling within her like a serpent ready to strike. With deliberate slowness, Seraphina lowered herself onto the bed, her body hovering over Lysandra's. She traced the curve of Lysandra's breast with a knowing finger, eliciting a soft moan from the woman beneath her. Lysandra's breath hitched as Seraphina dipped her head, her lips claiming Lysandra's nipple with a gentle suck. A gasp escaped Lysandra's lips as Seraphina's touch grew bolder, her fingers exploring the hidden folds of her body, igniting a fire that spread through Lysandra's veins. Seraphina savored the taste of Lysandra's surrender, her own power amplified by the woman's submission. Lysandra arched into Seraphina's touch, her fingers tangling in the dark strands of her hair. "Seraphina," she breathed, her voice thick with need. Seraphina's eyes gleamed with triumph. This was the power she craved, the raw, primal connection that transcended words and defied convention. With a final, lingering kiss, Seraphina rose from the bed, her body humming with the afterglow of their encounter. Lysandra lay breathless, her eyes following Seraphina's every move. There was no tenderness in Seraphina's gaze, only the cold, calculating fire of a woman who knew her worth and would stop at nothing to claim her destiny.